Right, today I'm going to shine some light on the part of ourselves, which is literally repelling all the things that we say that we want for ourselves. So I want to shine some light on this. This is really, really important because most of our pain is just unnecessary. But because we are so identified and we have been so identified with our mind for so long, unconsciously, and we haven't been observing it, it's literally been controlling us and taking us around all these different places without our full awareness. We end up creating even more pain for ourselves, completely unconsciously. So whatever we create, whatever pain that we are creating now, is always because of some kind of non-acceptance. There's something that we're just not willing to accept. Something that we believe in that is just not true, and we're unwilling to see things in any other way. So it's always some form of unconscious resistance. We are denying something. We are unconsciously resisting the truth. What is? So on the level of our mind, on the level of thinking, resistance is always some kind of judgment. On an emotional level, it's some form of negativity. So the intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance that we have to the present moment. And this depends on how strongly we are identified with the way that we think. So the mind is always seeking to deny the now. It's always seeking to deny the truth. Whenever we're in pain, there is something that we are believing that is just not true. So in other words, the more we are identified with our thinking mind, the more that we're going to suffer. So, you know, I'm sure you've heard some spiritual teachings and enlightenment teachings that say, you know, all pain is an illusion. And I agree, this is absolutely true. All pain is an illusion, ultimately. But the question really is it true for you? A mere belief doesn't make it true. A mere statement does not make it true. So do you want to experience pain and annoyance and for the rest of your life and keep saying that it's an illusion? Or do you want to actually experience this for real? Do you want to free yourself from the burdensome irritations and pains that you carry within you? Because what we're concerned about here is how can you actually realize this truth for yourself? How can you make it real in your own experience? It's not just something that people say. It's not something that you just say and wish was true, but it's actually experienced as true. That's what I'm all about, is an experiential truth, not just something that most people say, but they don't live. So pain is inevitable as long as you are identified in your mind, as long as you are identified with the belief systems that you've had all of this time. Pain is inevitable. So I'm talking here about emotional pain as well. Just want to make that differentiation. I'm not talking about physical, actual pain. I'm talking about emotional pain, what most people are carrying inside of them and have been for years and years, which causes them so much turmoil inside and turbulence inside, and they don't know what to do with it. I'm talking about that pain. So whether it's resentment, hatred, guilt, anger, depression, jealousy, humiliation, those kinds of pain are what I'm focusing on here. And it's important to notice that every pleasure also contains within it the seed of its opposite, which will manifest over time. So there are two levels to this pain. There's pain that you create now, and there's the pain from the past that still lives in your mind and your body. So you may have tried different tools and EFT and journaling work or healing work or energy healing, and I'm sure you may have experienced some shifts, but often this stuff does not get rid of it. It still lives on in you, in your mind, in your body. So as long as you are unable to access the power that I am teaching you in this process, as long as you are unable to access the now moment and to take your mind out of the ordinary thinking mode of the past, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind more of a residue of the pain that attaches to the pain that's already in you. So anything that happens to you now just merges with whatever pain was already in existence within you. So it gets lodged in there. So let's call that, I'm going to call that the repelling entity. So imagine you have this entity that is within you, which is an accumulation of all the pain that you've ever experienced and any current pain that you're experiencing. It all gets banded into this body of energy, this accumulated body of energy, which I'm calling for this purpose as the repelling entity. So it's really important that you bear this in mind, that we all carry within us this body of energy, wherever we have pain, wherever we have resentment or anger or fear or any of those emotions that people deem or label as negative. And again, I'm wanting to stay away from labeling any emotion negative, but I'm going to use that connotation for now, just for this purpose. So we all have this accumulation of this negative energy, accumulation of past pain, along with any current pain that we've experienced emotionally. Yeah. So it's all merging, and it becomes lodged in the body, and it becomes lodged in the mind, and it's stuff that has happened way back when, from childhood all the way up till now. So it includes all of that. It includes everything from day dot up until the now. So that pain was caused by circumstances and situations that are completely outside of our control, but it's still accumulating within us. The pain is in us. It's not outside of us. It's in us. So it creates this negative energy field in us. It's a repelling entity. Negative energy is repelling to our desires. It's repelling to the joy that we want. As long as we are holding on to this stuff, we don't do anything about it, or we just move it around into different places, but it actually is still very active, we find that the things that we desire, they come and go, or they don't come at all. Or they come, but we can't consistently keep them because we have this accumulation of toxicity living within us. So this energy is either dormant or it's active. And it may be dormant most of the time. Most of us don't even notice that this thing is even there most of the time. If you find yourself in depression a lot, you may notice a lot more. It might be there the majority of the time. In some people, it may be active 100% of the time. They're always feeling these feelings. They're always feeling this entity within them. Some people live entirely through that entity. But it's important to recognize that it is an entity of its own. You will notice it in certain situations because it will be triggered. And almost anything can trigger this entity, accumulation of pain energy. You know, intimate relationships, situations that remind you of the past, some past loss situations, some abandonment issue, some emotional hurt, can trigger this entity. If it resonates with a pain pattern from your past, when it is ready to awaken from its dormancy, even just a thought can trigger it. Even a sound, even somebody's tone of voice can trigger this thing. So this is about breaking identification with this pain accumulation. It doesn't want you to. This accumulation of pain does not want you to break identity. It doesn't want you to break away from it. It doesn't want you to even know that it's there. It doesn't want you to see it for what it is. The moment you observe that you have this entity within you, you feel its energy field inside of you. When you can take your attention into it, automatically you've broken identification, because you've brought a higher level of consciousness. Your attention has come in. So again, remember, presence, now, the now. Your power is in the present moment. When you bring your full attention into this entity, when you place your consciousness into this accumulation of pain that you've been carrying around, you break identification with it, because you are focused on it. You are seeing it. So you become the watcher of it. You are noticing it. You are watching this thing. You can feel and sense it inside of you. You are consciously noticing it. Rather than being dragged around by it, you are able to disidentify and see it active in you. So when you are able to notice it in you, you can't be controlled by it anymore. It can't pretend to be you anymore. So when you're not aware, when you're not realizing what's happening, you can tend to be dragged around by this thing. And when it becomes active and those feelings kick in, you can tend to buy into the stories of this energy. That's when we're not conscious. But once we become aware, we bring our attention into it. We break the identification. So we want to dissolve this energy field. And in my one-to-one work with clients, I go really deeply into dissolving this repellent energy field. It's really important. And there are lots of ways that I help somebody in a one-to-one space to completely dissolve this energy field that they have inside of them. But for the purposes of this program, I just want you to really bring your awareness into that field of energy that you carry. And again, it might not be dormant right this second. It might not be dormant right now. So it's to become aware of it when it's triggered. So these are the situations. It can be triggered by what somebody says to you. Somebody might say something, you find it offensive. It will trigger an emotional reaction in you. That is your repellent energy field. Just become aware that it's there and put your attention on it to break identification. Everyone has this thing. Everyone has this energy field within them. And for most people, for a lot of people, this energy field is relatively harmless. It's not going to do too much damage. It's not going to create too much turmoil in their lives. But others have a very vicious energy field, like a monster. Some energy fields, some of these pain bodies, they are extremely destructive, violent even. Some of them attack people. Some of them attack you and have done. But notice when they attack you as the host. The thoughts and feelings that you have about your life can then become very negative and self-destructive. This is how illnesses are caused, accidents are caused, created through the pain body, the repellent energy field. Sometimes these energy fields can drive their hosts to suicide. So you may see someone acting up and you will be able to notice when they're acting out of their pain, when they're acting out of their repellent energy. It's much, much, much more important for you to notice when it is active within you. Much more important to observe it in yourself than in anybody else. Watch out for any sign of unhappiness in yourself, in any form, because it might be that energy field awakening in you. And it might be, you might just feel a little bit impatient, you might feel a bit irritated, might start to feel a bit annoyed, hurt, depressed. You might want to have a need to start to cause trouble or to do something to, stir the pot in some way. Just catch it. Catch it the moment that it awakens. Catch it when it starts to become active, when it awakens from its dormant state. Because this thing, this energy field, it wants to survive. It wants to survive. Watch out for any sign of unhappiness within you, because this thing, it will catch you off guard. And if it catches you off guard, you will unconsciously identify with it. And if you identify it with it, it will take you over. You will believe in it, and it will become you and live through you. And it needs you. It needs you to identify with it in order for it to continue. Because this energy field, as intense and painful and toxic and repellent as it is, it wants to survive. And it can only do that through you. It can actually, it's feeding off of your belief in it. It's feeding off you. This repellent energy field, your attention is like its food, and it will feed on any experience that resonates with its energy. So if it wants to create further pain in the form of anger or grief or hatred or resentment or whatever it might be, violence, the pain body will take you over and create a situation in your life that will reflect back that energy, that frequency, in order for it to feed. Pain feeds on pain. Pain can't feed on joy. Pain finds joy quite indigestible. But once it's taken you over, you're going to want more of it. You're going to want more pain. If it's anger that it's decided to feed on, you're going to want more reasons to be angry, because it's become you now. If you are not aware, if you're not conscious, if you allow this thing to take you over, it's going to put you in a situation where it's going to create more reasons for you to feel this way. So often we go through situations in our life and it seems to repeat, and we wonder why. Why does this keep happening? Why do we keep having this thing happen? Why does this situation keep reoccurring? And it's because this repellent energy is active within us, and we unconsciously are finding ourselves in situations that will ensure that we continue to feel the feelings that our pain body is desperate to feed on. Which is why it's unconscious. We don't consciously want this, but there is a part of us that does. There is a part of us that actually does want this. So, this is all the ego stuff. And once you have awareness of it, which you do now, once you now are able to become conscious of this thing that resides in you, which is dormant a lot of the time, now you know that it is there. You can bring conscious awareness to its activity. Its survival depends on you. Survival depends on you being unconscious and buying into the stories of the feelings. Its survival depends on you believing in the stories that the feelings create. As long as you believe in the stories that the feelings create, you will buy into the pain, you buy into the repellent energies field, and you will become it, and it will live through you, and it will feed off you, and it will throw you into situations you don't want to be in. And if you don't face it, if you don't bring your consciousness into the pain, you will keep reliving it over and over and over again. And I know that this feeling, this energy field is really, really uncomfortable. And a lot of people, and you may be one of them, do not want to even look at this thing. You may not even want to go there. You may not even want to feel any of this stuff, but I assure you, this is it's like a phantom. It cannot prevail against the power of your presence. It's not real. It's imaginary. Just think about the sensations that are going on. They are not anything. They are literally sensations that you're experiencing that are reminding you of something, and it creates a story that is all imaginary. None of it is actual. None of it is tangible. None of it is actually true. So face this thing, face this feeling. When those feelings arise, bring your consciousness to them. Do not buy into the stories of what the pain body wants you to believe that it is. Do not buy into the story of what this pain body wants you to make it mean. Just go back to the present moment, the now moment, and notice the energy field, and just place your attention onto it and feel whatever it is coming up. No thinking, no stories, no making it mean anything. Just feel. Deeply feel. This is how you transform and literally alchemize your pain into gold. You are transforming your pain, the negativity, the repellent energy. You are transforming it into its opposite. It cannot survive with the light of your consciousness. So I'm going to repeat that. When you do feel this feeling, rather than going unconscious and going back into the thinking mind and the stories of the feelings of what they mean and how they impacting you and what happened and why, who caused it, instead of going unconscious, stay with the feeling. Notice that it's there. Know what it is. It is this repellent entity. Stay conscious of that. That's what it is. Know, and know that's what it is. And remain unaffected by its stories and beliefs that it wants you to buy into. And just feel whatever it's bringing up in you. This is how you heal your past in the present. This is how you heal any past wounds. Your past is always going to come up as long as this repellent entity is within you. It is bringing up the past in you now. You don't need to go back into the past to find out why, what happened, and who did what, and what went wrong. You don't need to dig up the past in order to heal. Your past is always being shown to you in the present moment by this energy field. And it's right here, right now. And all you are required to do is place your attention on it and not buy into its stories, and just feel, deeply feel every discomfort, every sensation, every twist and turn of its movement. Just feel it. And I assure you, it will not prevail. It will dissolve right there, right then, on contact. When you start becoming a watcher and you start to disidentify, sorry, the pain body is going to continue. This energy field is going to want to continue. So this is not going to be an overnight fix. This is practice. This is practice. You want to do some work with me one-to-one, please feel free to connect, and I will do this in a lot more. We can rapidly dissolve. But for now, for this purpose, as it comes up, just continue to do this. Continually stay in consciousness and just give your full attention to whatever feelings arise, and just stay with it. I promise you they will dissolve. You are healing yourself. No tricks required, no tools required, no crystals required, no outside tools required. Just you and your attention on how you feel in the moment. No stories, no meanings, no attachments, no descriptions. Just you and feel. No thinking required. You may feel physical aches and pains in different parts of the body, but it won't last. Just stay present, stay conscious. Be the guardian of your internal space. This is how you heal your relationship with you. This is how you start to stand up for yourself. This is how you create complete self-love. You begin to take care of you in your entirety. You love you, and you are protecting yourself from any negative energy field. You are healing your own internal space. No outside gimmicks required. But you need to be present enough to be able to watch what's going on. You need to be present in order to not be taken over by this thing. You need to be anchored in your body in order to not be swept away by your mind's thoughts about what it all means. So presence is required. And then it can't control your thinking. The moment your thinking is aligned with this energy field, the moment you become identified with it, it will start feeding on your thoughts again. It's going to take you away. So if you are somebody, let's say if you're somebody who has a lot of anger, and the vibration of energy within you tends to be a lot of anger, and you think a lot of angry thoughts, and you dwell on what someone did and what happened and what they did and shouldn't have done, or all those kinds of stories. If that's where you are, if you're somebody who has that, and it might be it could be some other emotion, but let's stick with anger for the time being. It's just important to understand that where there is anger or resentment or hate or bitterness, there's pain underneath there. So just be aware of your moods. Understand what is happening to you. Know that you have this field of energy that wants to feed, and it wants to feed off you, your belief in it. And as long as you go unconscious and you allow your thinking to align to this thing, you will be swept away by it. So when I say unconscious, when I say you're going unconscious, what I mean is that you've just become identified with some mental story or some mental pattern or emotional story that you have. So it just means that your observation, you watching things, you being conscious of what is actually going on, you've lost connection to that. You've lost connection to what's real. You've stepped out of consciousness and you've gone unconscious back into thinking mind, into the habitual mind mental movies of old.